We're here, finally. All right.
Okay, so we are doing this for the first time, so we're not particularly used to this. So, but to make attempt to tell our stories and share our experiences and how we came together, how we got to understand the will of God for our lives, and then we want to see how you can also benefit from our experience and constantly remain in the will of God. So, Sebastian, Abiola, my wife, the wife and babe of my youth. Okay, so I think our story is unique. It confirms again that God speaks, and that if you listen, you will hear Him, and He speaks on everything. He speaks on everything that concerns us, and so that is the summary of our story. And our situation is even more unique. We're from different parts of the country. I'm from Anambra State, she's from Osun State, and we married for over 22 years now. And God has been faithful to us, and so we feel it's a good time to start sharing our story, and share that experience.
Okay, can I just say something? I discovered lately that many of our youths don't believe that God speaks anymore. They just believe I fell in love and that's just it. How often does God speak to us? Does God still speak when it comes to any aspect of our lives? It's important for us to be able to identify the voice of God. And because of the decadence in marriages, a lot of things are happening. Marriages are no longer, happy. A lot of people are having issues. Of course there will be issues, but a lot of divorces, you hear people are married in a week, in 3 weeks they want to divorce, in 1 month the marriage is over. So it's a call for concern. That's why we have decided to do this video, to ensure our youth that God can still speak to you. God still speaks, and when you hear the voice of God, the Bible says you will hear the voice telling you this is the way, walk in it, and it makes things easier for you, and it makes the marriage journey much more better. So we're going to be talking about how we met, and how we got to know this is the voice of God, and maybe some other things that come up along the line. All right, so
okay, so there are 3 sides of the story. So my side, her side, and our side. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I'll start with my side. My side was while in the 2011 university, I had a burden to know the will of God for marriage. It was very interesting. Before then, I had written 1 book about marriage, and so I had gone to one of our leaders in the fellowship then, and I asked him, an elderly man in the faith, to please help me write a foreword so I can publish the book. I was then in maybe 100 level or 20 university. So the man asked me, are you married? I said, I'm not married. It's okay, I should leave the manuscript as is and come back to him after I've been married for 5 years. And then I would read again the manuscript and be sure that the things I wrote in my year 1, I still agreed with them after 5 years of marriage. So I kept the book in the cooler, the manuscript, and then started going through the need for my education. So in my 3rd year, I've been the president of the fellowship on campus then, which was quite interesting. I thank God for the grace. And so I said, God, who is my wife among these people I'm pastoring? Those kind of things that brothers in the faith used to think about, that your wife is where you are. So I said, God, which of these is my wife? And so I went on a 3 days fast. And then the Lord spoke to me that every lady I had met with my eyes, I said, that day, none of them was going to be my wife. It was a tough realization. If I had not known that God speaks to me and I knew His voice, I would have doubted who is saying this. Because there were very unique sisters in the fellowship, maybe very unique. And I was so sure that at least one of them, I wouldn't just pastor them and then they all go away to some other people. So at least one of them, God will say, because of your faithfulness, take one. But God says, no, I have someone else for you. So, and I was to graduate from the university and without any active relationship. Of course, as brothers, we make attempts to flock around with people, and God was very insistent at each of them that none of them is. And they were very wonderful sisters. And God said, no, NYSC camp. We saw, but not with the intention of anything. We just saw as sister and brother, okay, sister Biola and brother, okay, we showed up for the NYSC in Maiduguri, Borno State. That was his own reference point for God for us. And so we went through the whole order of the orientation camp. I posted to Akmara assignment. I was appointed or elected, as it were, to be the president of the Compass Fellowship for the whole of Borno State. And so that kept me again in Maiduguri town, in the family house. And then I was still pastoring again like I did on campus. And this time around, God says, yes, you won't go empty-handed. So, and then finally God showed me, yes, that is the lady. Go now and propose to her. I will talk about that experience, about how it came about much later. Yes, Bill.
Okay, I actually finished from University of Ilorin. While I was in the university, before I entered the university, that was when I first gave my life to Christ. I think I was 17 years as at that time, and I was attending a fellowship called Baptist Student Fellowship, and we had some senior brothers in the fellowship. I call them senior because they are much more older than us. We're young Christians, and one of them actually we became close. We became prayer partners, and along the line he told me that he would want me to be his wife. Okay, I was very naive. I was young in the faith. So, but because I know he's somebody that loves God, I just said yes, and I was happy about it. Then he told me his plans. He's going to travel for about 7 years, then return, and maybe will now formalize the whole thing. So I gained admission into university. He traveled out. So while I was in the university, I was so happy. I knew I was in a relationship. So even I made it known to people that I was not available. So I was on it for close to 4 years. 3-4 years we started having communication problem. Okay, so later on I discovered I wasn't communicating with me anymore. Then I was worried. I tried everything to get across. It wasn't just coming. So I went for my youth service after my program. While I was going for my youth service, I told the Lord I want nothing else but His will, that I need Him to intervene in this matter. So while I was in my youth service, He came home, because he has not been able to come home since he traveled, and God just orchestrated my travel back to the south. Is it south now? Ibadan. I have to come from the north. It's south.
It's not north.
It's not north. So I had to, I don't know, God just worked everything out. I wasn't planning to travel, and I didn't even have the money to travel, but somehow God connected me to somebody who was coming to Lagos, who was coming to Ilorin. And when I get to Ilorin, I can always find my way to Lagos. And on getting to Ilorin, I just got somebody coming to Lagos. It was a free ride. My dad was very to Ibadan. My dad was very upset because it was a long journey and he wasn't expecting me to come. I had a guardian over there. So what was the basis of my comment? I don't know, but something just kept pushing me I should go home. Okay, when I got home, I met one of my friends' wedding card at home, who was wedding Shola. So in Lagos, I took my flights to Lagos, and while I was in Lagos, somebody called me and said he's around. I said, oh, since when? This must be, it's very serious matter. I finished the wedding, I went back to Ibadan. On getting to Ibadan, he came home and told me he came to restitute. That the only thing that brought him home was to restitute. God told him he must come back and restitute with me. So told me he met somebody, and that is the person God told him was going to marry and all that. I felt very bad, disappointed. So I had to travel back to, instead of me traveling back to Maiduguri, I went through Abuja, stayed with one of our family friends just to get myself together. After which I now went back to Maiduguri. On getting back to Maiduguri, God spoke to me in a dream, and I already know how God speaks to me. That's another thing we want to point out. How does God speak to you apart from marriage? there are a lot of issues around you, career-wise, some of the things, your purpose, finding your purpose. How does God talk to you? You must be able to identify how God speaks to you and be able to know this is God. So I knew God was speaking to me. He spoke to me through my dream, gave me a revelation, and I saw in my dream my current husband, my husband is it current now? I saw our daddy in the fellowship. He was the one I saw in my dream, and I saw that I was packing his things. He was in a very big box, in a very big, huge box. He had pots, he has spoons, he has bowls, he has plates, he has everything inside the box, but all clustered together. So I found myself arranging it in different, let the pots be here, let the book be here. I was just making sure that things are where they're supposed to be. So before I now woke up, I saw somebody tap me. It was him. That was when I saw his face, and he smiled at me, and I heard a voice telling me I should go and read the book of Isaiah. Isaiah chapter 13. Is it 13? I need to check again. Where God was talking about who is the clay, who is the clay to argue with the potter. That the potter, the potter does whatever he wants to do with the clay. So, and I was like, what is the meaning of this? So immediately I woke up, I read the scriptures, I saw the scriptures. I had a friend of mine, a sister in the fellowship who was around. I woke up, I shared the dream with her. She prayed with me, and we left it that way. And God consistently kept bringing that dream more than 3 times to me. So I knew God was trying to tell me something. So I went to the fellowship. On getting to the fellowship, I hear the pastor talking about what I am dealing with. Honestly, you want to know how God speaks to you? That is God speaking to you. If there are issues you have tabled with the Lord, and you get to a place, maybe a place of worship, and God is using the person to tell you about that thing, God is speaking to you. So I knew God was speaking to me, but I kept, saying, no way, can't marry this Igbo man. And the way he was always dressing, it wasn't attractive. I'll be looking, and me, I was like, I wanted this kind of brother that is touche, that dresses like, 6 packs now they call it, a fantastic wristwatch with nice perfume. Those kind of books we used to read, building castles in the air. That was what I was. Even though I wanted the will of God, but I wanted somebody that was. So when I was struggling with it. I struggled with it for quite a long time, but I kept praying. And the more I kept praying, the more God kept telling me, except I want to do my will. This is my will for you. So after a while, I just I think, okay, and I had an experience that topped it up. I went to fellowship that day, and with that burden in my heart that God should just clarify to me what He is saying. Getting to the fellowship, the pastor was ministering. I was in the choir. He was on this side. This is where our daddy sits. The choir sits on this side, and the altar is in the middle. So where I sat, I heard a voice clearly called me by my name and pointed to me. That side, he pointed and said, "That is your husband." I turned back because at the window, I felt somebody was actually pulling my legs or something. So I turned back to look, and I saw that there was nobody there. So I was like, who spoke? But I went home cleared that except if I want to do something else, this is God speaking to me. So I said, okay, God, if you are the one speaking to me, tell him to come if he has the guts. So
anyway, so that was the version. Okay, so let me connect to that. All right, so that season after we're released from the camp, orientation camp, now went to our various assignment. I was posted to serve with the NCCF as a state president, and so my job was to pastor everyone, including her. So she's in my flock, And there's this flock that God will just connect with your life, that you must pastor them to eternity. She's that. And so it's been great. So the Lord convinced me clearly that's the wife. That experience is so vivid. I can relate with it any day. So we're in fellowship. That same day that she had a voice, I was sitting on the altar on the other side. And about the same time, because we later tried to align, when did you hear the voice? I heard my voice about the same time. And you know, for me, my background was NIFES in Abia State University. And so that background was such that from every normal, forgive me, from my own SUCU NIFES, it was
this Rema girl.
It was like this Rema young girl, because she was completely. So sometimes she wasn't. Forgive me. She wasn't looking like those type of our sisters,
Spiritual,
as it were, because she was like yuppie. And God said, "That is your wife." He needed to convince me clearly, so he spoke in audible voice. And so while I was in fellowship that day, and I've not forgotten, the person ministering was Pastor Melky Bano. It was in Maiduguri town. And we sat, he was ministering, and I heard the voice. He said, "Go now and propose to her." I turned back again to see who was saying that. And nobody was behind the window, because at this side was a window, and that side was a window. The choir was there, and we were here. So I said, "Oh, really?" And I looked and I saw her. You know, then when I heard the voice, I looked and I saw her. And I turned back, and behold, there was nobody there. And I looked again, and I saw the lectern, the preaching lectern, was now between me and her. I said, "But God, I just saw her just now." He said, "Yes, you saw her at the first time I spoke, and then the lectern is what you're saying now. And I've now finally shown you your wife that you asked me for in your year 3. But I'm also saying to you, nothing should stand between you and me." So it was very clear. And I'm grateful to God for that level of leadership. And then finally I had the grace, not courage,
to come.
It was grace. And the reason why it was grace was that from what we were, she had been a very privileged child. She was been very blessed. Everything has been there. Her parents have been supportive. My parents have been wonderful to the best of their capacity. But of course, I'm honest to myself to say that I probably have gone through a lot more struggle than she had. And so God saying that was, wow, why this? But in all things, I give God praise. So I finally went, and with enough grace, I saw her. I said, "Sabiola,
I want us to get married.
No touch, no creativity. It was not looking like
romantic.
It wasn't looking like you know, because that was me. I was not that touch. I was pretty raw, simple, straight to the point, just like see you, straight to the point.
All right. So
and finally, she laughed that day. She laughed so well that I looked at myself and I said, "Hey, what did I just say?" She laughed the more, and I said, "Well, if what I had is what I said, then I will love you." And she laughed and we walked away. And then I think 4 days after, I proposed on the 7th, on the 3rd, and on the 7th of September.
Okay, that was the day we had the program. In fact, that day something happened, because I was still asking God, "You mean this is the brother I've been waiting for years? Why does it look like this?" And maybe God just needed to convince me a little. And that day we had a program.
The Fellowship had a program.
Yes, in the church.
Not in the church. At the state secretariat.
Okay, so we all had to go for that program, and for the first time I'll be seeing him put on a suit. Honestly, I didn't know he was the one. I said, "So this man can actually look like this." So, and he was wearing one nice NYSC tie. Sorry. So I saw him.
It wasn't mine though. I met it in the secretariat there. It was dropped by somebody who was there before me.
So I wrote a note. I think I wrote a note.
Yeah, he wrote a note to me and said, "We'll talk later. See me later today, but eat very well before coming."
That's another pop.
So I was like, "Eat very well before coming." Oh my goodness, God. All right. So, but finally, I
He
came around,
and
then she said,
I said, God has already spoken to me. I gave him the dates. I knew it was you, but I was like struggling with God and saying, how can? And I told him, he shared our notes, how God spoke to me, how God spoke to him at the same time. So we knew we were in the center of the
"This way." Absolutely.
All right, so one of the things I wanted.
So before you go, so when she said yes, I said yes. I said okay. Say it in Yoruba language. Let me hear very well. So I said solid in Yoruba. She would back you are family. She said Mujigba. I said okay, that's fine. Now because English could be too lengthy, but it was fun. Yeah. So and then we held hands together and we prayed. Yeah. Right. And that was the first thing we did. It's always good to seal your visions in their expression to prayers. You don't see them all with up and down. I was too excited, but prayer should not be lost in the tracking.
Okay, so that's about us. That's how we met, and that's how we knew this is the will of God. God's will is still there. For as many that are seeking, okay, I got to know something while we were in where I met my husband and we in courtship, in marriage. I got to know that God really has favorites. I am one of God's favorites. They used to say God does not have favorites. I believe God has favorites. I'm one of his favorites because God was jealous over me. When you love the Lord, when you want to serve him, and you have the fear of God, God will do everything within his capacity to ensure that you don't make a mistake. Yeah. He says, I will guide you, and you will hear a voice telling you, this is the way, walk in it. So you must have a relationship. You can't have a marriage when you don't have a relationship with God. You can't have that kind of marriage you're looking for when your relationship with God is not sound. Right. You must develop that relationship with God. Love the Lord, serve him, give him of your talent, give him of everything that he has put in you back into his work, and God will ensure that you're taking good care of, because God actually gave me this gift. I call it my gift because I don't deserve the kind of person I am. I don't think I deserve him, but God planned and said this is what he wants to do with me. So I believe that God will always lead you when you yield your totality to God. Marriage for 22 years, we've been married for 22 years now. Plus, it hasn't been a bed of roses, I must tell you. But it's been fun, it's been beautiful. Because when you are in the center of God's will, no matter the storm, no matter the challenge, God will always fight for you. Over the years, I've seen God's faithfulness in this marriage. God has given me a wonderful man who loves the Lord, who fears God. One of the things again about my husband is that as at that time, he didn't have so much money. Honestly, I can count the number. I can count the number of clothes that he has. But you know what? He has the fear of God. He loves the Lord. And that for me is one of the major things that endeared me to him. I remember, then another thing is the fruit of the Spirit. I remember we went on an outing. I don't know whether you remember. I can't forget that outing because that particular outing made me know that I have a husband. All right, we went out for a program.
That was while we were serving. Okay.
And he was our daddy, so he was sitting. I think he was sitting in the front.
Yeah, with the brother.
We were at the back. So many of us, our mommy, everybody.
In the fellowship bus.
So there was a misunderstanding on whether somebody wants to go to market, and the person didn't talk on time. We passed the place, and the person driving, our couple's uncle, the one that drives our bus, refused to turn back, and it was a misunderstanding, and the whole place became tensed.
And I remember that I said, let's take a particular route.
Yes.
And then he says no, because he was driving, he was going to take a particular route. I said there might be traffic in that route. He said no, he was going to take that route, and he said yes, I'm going to drive. Okay, in
fact, the whole bus, we were laughing before everybody just mute.
So finally we went to take that route and ran into terrible traffic.
So what I want to point out is this: while the whole place was tensed, the next thing that happened was that my husband just threw a joke in the air. I can't remember what the joke was. Before we knew it, everybody started laughing again. Meanwhile, he was the one that is supposed to be angry because our uncle was a bit, I want to do it my way. And as the president now, he will use his power and say yes. But he just threw one joke and everybody started laughing. I mean, I was angry for him. How can you just let it go like that? But God taught me a lesson. The fruit of the Spirit, that's another thing you should look out for. Because some people they used to say, okay, while we were cutting, we didn't see this, we didn't see it. Honestly speaking, the Lord will open your eyes to see some signs. There will be the red flags. Yeah. And all you needed to do is to heed. Forget about love now. If you're in love, you wake up. And marriage is an eye-opener. I saw that, and I saw that he let it go. He let it go. I learned from it because many of us are still Christians then, and we were like still behaving like our usual. The old man is still very active. So I saw that. Then I saw that anger, the way he manages anger, the way he manages relationships in the family house is so endearing, and I knew this is God.
So, brethren, it's just the first attempt. So this is raw, not processed. We didn't do any much processing, but we believe God has a plan for something. Don't always look at what you can see. Marriage is beyond what you can see. So for her to me, I wasn't looking like that for her.
But there was something.
Even for her, I mean, for me to
see, sisters. I want to say something to sisters. The man may not have it, but does he know where he's going? My husband is somebody that, you could literally touch where he's going because he will never stop talking about it. And another thing is that he's very intelligent. He reads a lot. So he had it up here. He's not not a lazy man. Please don't say this is God's way and the person is lazy. No. I can see that if he has it, he will do a lot. Okay, take for example, he came to visit me while I was doing a diploma program in journalism after our youth service, and every time he comes with granuts. Those granuts they put in nylon. As small as that granite, he will never come empty. He will come and say he bought it for me. I know he doesn't have, but from what he has, he is able to give it. Those are signs. Those are red flags. That thing touches me, and I said, if this man has millions, honestly, I must feel it. I know I will feel it, and I'm feeling it.
and one thing again I want to talk about is understanding yourselves. So we took a decision that we will start at our own level. We will not start with either, because the two families were on different levels. We said no, the family A, family B level we don't want. We just want Sebastian and Bernard's level. So we started at ourselves. So, and it was quite graceful for her because she could have chosen to have started where the family was. She chose to start where I was, and we agreed as the starting point for us. So, and we started at that level. We came and set up a home the way we could afford it. We didn't take any dime from anybody.
That's another story for another day.
To pick that. So we'll share that some other time about setting up, about starting a home, and knowing that you don't have to start here if this is what you can naturally start with. And it was great for us. So, and
the early years of blending, understanding ourselves is Igbo. There's a different way.
We'll talk about that some other time.
I am Yoruba.
The cross-tribal issues.
We'll see come up again.
So, gentlemen and ladies,
I hope somebody out there.
I hope it's been a blessing to you. Baby girl, thanks so much. At least we started this. So now we'll see how it goes. So you can join us on Prepare and Enrich. It's a platform we have on Facebook, and we want to use that platform to create one of the most intensive and engaging marriage platforms in the world.
Marriage can be beautiful.
God bless you
if you allow God
to be in charge. Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And do have a great day. It's been our pleasure, and we believe that we'll meet again.